For everyone tuning in, the first part is going to be basically talking about Mythic Plus and Mythic Plus class balance. How good is Mythic Plus? The certain teams that are pushing high Mythic Plus keys. We'll be talking about Mythic Dungeon Invitational that's been announced in the last, I think, like last week or something, and it's going to be happening. When is it actually going to be happening? The first half of the year. First half of the year. Okay, so quite a long time, but we'll be talking everything to do with Mythic Plus. We'll be looking at the highest keys and things like that. So first of all, before actually even doing anything, Mythic Plus, can you actually imagine World of Warcraft without Mythic Plus?
This would have been a really poor expansion if Mythic Plus wasn't there. Because with all the legendary system and all that, so honestly, Mythic Plus carried this expansion,
Oh,
and it's only gonna get better. That's the thing.
I forgot to unmute you at the start of it. So
What?
Great start! Great start of the video, dude. Welcome, Paperkut. No, exactly what you said about it. When you really think about Mythic Plus, it's probably like, first of all, Blizzard had it from the very start. Mythic Plus is coming from Diablo, pushing keys and then keystones. The whole concept of the keystone is coming from Diablo. Yeah. And when you really think about it, imagine if you didn't have Mythic Plus and you'll be just doing like raids. You'll be logging in to do a raid. You'll be logging in to farm your AP, to do some of the quests, and then you'll be doing like, okay, my guild is not doing a raid, or I can't find a pug on Taurus. What do I do? Like, I would feel that without Mythic Plus, there'll be a huge dip in numbers. I know right now, there's like a lull moment or whatever after like the first month or the second month or whatever, and a new raid comes out. People are kind of like, just settling in. They're kind of, okay, we kind of did on Taurus, or like, it's really cool. New raid is really nice, but we know the bosses, we know the tactics. We might not finish it in Mythic, but a lot of people might not be raiding Mythic. So they'll be like, what do I do with my spare time? And
there's also like Mythic Plus guilds are happening as well, where only, you just get the tier sets or like the really good trinkets from the raids, and then you just focus on Mythic Plus only, which is, another type of PvE completely. So I don't know, you can, diminish the PvE scene, the raiding scene, because you'll be splitting the player bases, which that can also have negative, impact as well.
On what?
On like the player, who plays, raiding and 5 months.
But is that not better if you don't want to do raids, if you want to just do 5 months?
But then there's less people competing. There'll be less teams in the World Force race. It's less, it's not fun when there's only like 2 teams competing for World Force. Like, if there's like, multiple teams, good teams there, if there's less players, obviously there'll be less guilds that are, high level. I don't know. That's
I don't know. I would. I don't know about that, because like, it's the same kind of like when they decided to do vanilla servers as well. It's going to split the community and all of that things. I feel that Mythic Plus could become bigger than the raids themselves. Like, think about it. Think about it, that there's going to be more people. Like, first of all, there's probably more people doing Mythic Plus anyway than raids.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Like, I mean, most of the people will do on Taurus once a week. Will finish it once a week, and then they'll be doing Mythic Plus after that. They'll be doing raid. They'll be doing dungeons. They'll be like, I don't have the numbers. No one has the numbers except
like
Blizzard.
League of Legends, when you doing a rank queues, you have there's like a anxiety about doing ranks, because we're playing with other people and you want to do well. It's exact same anxiety with the Mythic Plus. You're with 4 other players, you don't want to let them down. A lot of people don't like that, and they just maybe do once a week to get the cash, and that's it. I don't have the numbers, but I would say that there's not as many people doing Mythic Plus as you think.
Anxiety for letting people down.
There's a phenomenon. I can't remember what it's called. I looked at it. It was specifically made for League of Legends, but it's the same concept. Applies to any kind of where you're with people and you're doing something timed or something like that where there's pressure, and it's crazy. It was actually really cool article about. I should maybe found it here for this.
No, I mean, there is pressure I guess I get it. If you're doing heroic or normal and Taurus Pug, there isn't that. I get it. There's way more pressure in Mythic Plus because there's only 5 people. Like, if you fail, you might wipe. In a raid environment, and especially normal, we're not talking about LF4. LF4 is like you can AFK and stuff, but if you're doing like normal, you die or something, or you mess up. Like 99% of the time, they just end up killing the boss without you, and you just get free loot. Of course, in Mythic Plus, it's like there's much more personal responsibility, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are looking for that kind of thing because, in my personal opinion, people who do really high Mythic Plus, like we're looking like, even if you look at the numbers right now, you see like 28s, 27s, 26, which is just insane. It's I mean, you're going to be breaking plus 30 soon with the gear that you have, probably.
I don't think so. It's not gonna get to 30.
I don't know. It's been really incremental lately, but the people who do really high Mythic Plus, there's way more personal skill or personal responsibility involved than doing something like a Mythic raid. Even in Mythic raid,
exactly, yes.
In Mythic raid, there is still like, to some aspect, if you fail something, the guild can still kill it. The guild can still do it. Like, some bosses in Mythic are just, a lot of people will tell you that on Taurus, like, you know, like we killed Mythic Coven of Shivara. We killed Mythic Coven of Shivara just a couple of days ago, and honestly, the first week when Taurus came out, the heroic version of Mythic of Shivara, Coven of Shivara, the heroic version was probably harder than what Coven of Shivara is right now for Mythic Raiders with the gear that they have. Like, the difficulty of Mythic Coven of Shivara right now, with a decent gear, decent raid setup, because you need to have a lot of range and all that. If you have all of that, it is easier than what it was at the start. It's just in like, a lot of the Mythic content is a lot easier than these insanely high keys. Like, you've seen a lot of the streams and things like that. You know, the JD and Shakib, like the team is just doing insanely high keys. Like, it's mainly them. They kind of exploded in the Mythic Plus.
There's a few more in Europe as well. There's 3 or 4 teams in Europe,
but
that
like,
are only doing those keys.
You've seen the amount of insane utility. Like, I mean, the Resto Jewel, whatever, is like doing as much DPS as possible, doing like fortified keys on trash balls, and like just squeezing out the maximum amount of DPS at the same time. Yeah.
Just even before doing the dungeon, you need to know exactly which pull you're going to be doing, and every single of the players, 5 of the players, need to know exactly what they're doing, because otherwise, if you screw up, you probably will have to reset the key. So you need to know every pull, the percentages, every percentage pull, and even external cooldowns, like a big external cooldowns, like when you're gonna invis if you're rogue, which pack you're gonna invis, what if certain dungeons you don't have a rogue, maybe for example, you can't invis, you need to use potions, when you're gonna do potions. All this preparation is insane amount of preparation, and also on top of that, skill level as well, because you need to do a certain damage, you need to do a certain amount of HPS to get through in time. So it is very intensive, very hectic, and it's really good. For me personally, watching it, it's really entertaining. I think the whole Dungeon Mythic Invitational thing is very good. It will increase a lot of viewers as well.
So we're gonna touch on the Mythic Dungeon Invitational, arguably one of the best World of Warcraft esport events. I don't watch a lot of PvP. I'm not crazy into a PvP arena. I'm not knocking down PvP players. PvP players have their own thing. PvE players have their own thing. I personally, I don't watch PvP. I don't watch PvP. I don't play PvP. And for me, I don't know how PvP players feel about the Mythic Dungeon Invitational. I actually wonder if the people in chat.
I think a lot of the PvP players are actually gonna go in Mythic Invitational.
You think so? I guess there's people who play PvP sometimes play PvE and stuff like that. But either way, I felt that the Mythic Dungeon Invitational was just insanely cool. There were so many cool things. It was really entertaining. It was I mean, there's few downfalls. Like, I mean, I really would like to see the kind of gear that each of the players is using, like the kind of legendaries that they're using. That would be really, really cool. The talents that they're going. Maybe if they swap gear, they can check out, like, okay, that guy just swapped gear here to go for DPS build. That could be really, really cool. I know it's kind of hard to implement because they can be.
Or even like some point of view of some player. I know that's like crazy, but that would be really interesting to see. You know, what actual like why are they clicking? What abilities they're using? Like,
Yeah, that's
know,
actually, swap out from point of views.
yeah.
Like, I know it's a technical kind of thing. Like, there can be too much stuff going on the screen. That's probably what they're worried about. Like, imagine, like, you have the legendary section on the top right. You have like the affixes and stuff like that. Just there can be too much information. But if they find a really good way to showcase like the gear, the point of views, I mean, it's really, really cool. As well as that, you see all the different paths that they take for the specific keys like this. Remember when they did the, what was it, cathedral with the warlock band? No, what was it, enslaved demon and use the
buff all the way through.
Yeah.
There's still things like that exists in Blackrock Hold, and it's actually ridiculous.
What's that in Blackrock Hold? I don't know which one.
It's the mage guy that he gets when he attacks you, he gets a buff, like 50% damage buff, and mage can spell steal that and get like 500 increased damage, and you literally can do 60 million damage on a boss. And the way they do it is just get a DK. If you have a DK tank, you can enslave undead, and you just bring him around all the time. And every time on a boss, you just get those spell steals going, and then you just get crazy damage. And it's the exact same. And that bug will definitely be fixed by the Mythic Invitational, because the other bug that you mentioned in the Cathedral was fixed straight away. When they saw it, the next run it was fixed, because obviously it's an exploit. It's kind of an exploit.
Yeah, it is an exploit because it's only one class can do it.
Yeah.
Then you
and there's a good few of these kind of bugs. Many people don't know about, and obviously they need to look into that, because that can kind of diminish the integrity of the tournament if you have like these kind of game breaking bugs. Not game breaking, but definitely increase your chances of success.
No, it's totally true. But they are gonna fix it. They're fixing a lot of the issues with it as well. I find that sometimes these bugs are actually quite fun. I think that they actually like remember the Halls of Valor. What was it? The second last boss, the shield boss, where you can just shield the whole party and they have a shield for the whole time. I mean, it involved somewhat skill to get the shield up on everyone. I remember doing pugs for that, and the tanks were trying to put the shield on everyone, and they failed multiple times. And like one person gets the shield, and then other people die. Like they don't know what's going on, so it can be somewhat difficult to apply that bug. Well, they removed all of that. But what's the new thing happening with the Mythic Dungeon Invitational this year? They said that they're doing that. So what was it? What were they doing? They're doing this weird thing where it's like proving grounds, time trials.
Yeah. It was first, before it was just proving grounds, where just the highest key in your normal ladder, whatever that specific week, you'll be invited to the proving grounds. Whoever gets the highest ones.
Mm-hmm.
Eight teams, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And
teams.
this year, you will have something like this year you have to complete 3 dungeons on a certain difficulty level as a challenge. Every team that completes the challenge will be eligible to complete in time trial of the tournament rounds. So basically, you have to complete 3 dungeons at a certain difficult level as a challenge, basically. So there's multiple like kind of levels to qualify, basically. So I guess that's
3 dungeons on a certain difficulty level. I wonder how that's gonna work out.
But then they say when you actually get invited into the proving grounds, the time trial will be cumulative run time of total compared to everyone else on the round. So even the bad ones will be added to the run?
I don't know how they're going to do it. I think the start of it is going to be the same. Proving Grounds is going to be probably the top 8 teams in the server, and then time trial.
Who has the highest run, yeah. But it's just cumulative runs. Cumulative run time. So any dungeons
that's the time trial. They're going to do something with the complete 3 dungeons on a certain difficulty level, and it's to do with how fast they do it as well. That's interesting.
No, this is just to get into the proving grounds, the 3 dungeons. This is just to get into the proving grounds. No. But then once you actually get into the proving grounds round for a week, you get to do certain amount of dungeons, whatever, I don't know how many, cumulative run of all total dungeons you did. and the eight highest team will advance to the trials, to the actual tournament. So I
Okay,
don't
that's
know.
interesting to see. I kind of didn't like the fact that last year they did like the top 8 teams from what were the regions again? China, America, Europe, and Oceanic kind of deal. I didn't like the fact that there's only 8 teams coming in from those top 8 teams with the highest keys, and like Europe had you I don't know if you can actually still see in rated.io. You can't. Oh, Mythic Dungeon Invitational Proving Grounds, exactly.
But then at the end, like the favorites were the Europeans and the Americans.
Yeah, but you can actually see it here. The top like 5 teams were Europe. Then you have the Oceanic. Then you have Europe. Then you have Americas. And you can look at the like Europe had higher keys, and someone who's like 9th in Europe, if they weren't in Europe, if they were like in Asia or something, they would have qualified as like number 2 or something.
Yeah.
So it's like in Europe there was a lot more challenge.
The Asian teams really kind of underperformed Korean and the Chinese teams. But look at the Australian teams. The 2 teams went to the final.
Yeah, they did
no
really
one expected
well.
them to make it.
They
And
did really well.
it shows underdogs. And maybe the Chinese or the Koreans will get better, and this year improve, because but still Chinese and Koreans they can play WoW. Obviously they have really good guilds as well in the first race. So you never know.
It's true. It's true. I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely Mythic Dungeon Invitational is something that I'm one of the events that I'm actually really excited for. Just because I don't watch that many esports and I don't watch the PvP. So let's talk about the class balance and stuff like that. I know you love this subject. I know you really like this subject.
I do. Well, not more like class balance, but like the Mythic dungeons itself were not really balanced around Mythic Plus. If you go see like a lot of like bosses, if on Titanic keys are impossible to do in higher levels.
No, they said it. No, Blizzard already said it. That the higher the key goes up, they didn't balance the damage to be like, okay, that boss cannot do more than 8 million damage or 7 million
That's
damage.
what I mean, yeah.
They just said like the higher key you do, the damage is gonna increase by like 10% or whatever. No, so technically, yeah, there's going to be bosses at really high keys that are going to do like 10 million one-shot mechanics, and it's up to the players to find ways around it.
Well, look at also the trash as well, like the cats in what's it, Court of Stars, or in Black Oak Hold, they
Dark
just
Heart Ticket
on 25, well. Yeah, Dark Oak Hold, on 25, 26, they one shot people when they launch. And the way you counter it, you use exploits, you have all 3 ranged and you just outrange it. Or there's multiple bugs and many of the dungeons you can use to avoid the jumps actually.
Yeah, you can. In Dark Heart Ticket, you can go behind the pillar. People are doing the pillar thing.
Yes, that's pillar. And not only that, like what's it called? The bosses itself on the upper cars and the last boss. You can just the second phase of it. You can completely ignore it if you just use range damage. Like
which one? Upper cars on which part?
The last boss on the when you get on the platform. You can just outrange it and just keep DPSing and avoid.
Oh, you're talking about the ranged exploit.
Yeah.
If you have 3 range,
but you don't need. You can just have 2 DPS.
You can do 2.
1 even
so for the people who don't know, in the upper Karzan, the boss, the Eye, whatever his name is, he has like 3 phases. He starts off on the ground, then he moves to the second ship, then to the third ship. On the second ship, where he does his beam thing, don't have any melee go and engage the boss. Just stay right at the circular end thing. Just stay at the range and just DPS the boss. The boss will just be doing an eye beam on every one target every 5 seconds or something. All the range have to do is just avoid the eye beam and just DPS the boss. And the boss will never do those, the things on the ground, the green crap on the ground, and it won't put the debuff. That's the most important. It won't put the debuff on.
That's the hardest part of the fight. Like, that is the hardest phase.
Yeah.
You get the debuffs, you get the meteors at the same time. That's why everyone wipes.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of guilds do that. But that comes into like another question. Melee versus ranged. Which is better? What do you want to bring? What's the advantage? Obviously, melees will bring you an interrupt, a lot shorter cooldown, like interrupt 15 seconds. And range obviously have a much longer interrupts, but they are ranged. But if you go look at the logs, it's most of the highest keys are with a lot of range now. Not many people run the melee comps anymore, like the warriors.
The main team does have one melee. They have a Windwalker monk because
Well,
Windwalker
it
monks.
doesn't count because windwalkers are completely overpowered. But
Well, rogues are pretty big in the teams as well.
It's utility. You to skip trash, to pull certain bosses. You can pull like little ads to increase their damage, like the third boss in Dakar Ticket. You can pull the whelps, and their damage basically they get combo points. How many ads there are, so they can increase their damage to ridiculous amounts.
No, I'm definitely seeing 2 range and 1 melee kind of comp going around.
I'm talking about like the very highest level.
Yeah, no, I'm talking like we're looking at 26 keys here. And it's either 2 range and 1 melee or 3 ranged a lot of the times. We do have like in melee, a lot of the people will either go with a rogue or Windwalker monk, it seems.
Yeah, this is the only one that they would take. Yeah, that's
and it's probably they're taking the rogue mainly for the shroud, I imagine.
There's many other things. Obviously, rogues are still
There's
good.
few warriors as well. There's not like I mean here we're talking about class balance. We're kind of weighing up. We're talking about class balance. So first of all, if you look at the class balance for Mythic Plus, it's very similar to what you would get in raiding scenarios because a lot of the classes who are strong in Mythic Plus, a lot of the classes who are strong in Mythic Plus are also going to be strong in raids. Kind of. Like look at Demon Hunter, Vengeance Demon Hunters. Like in really high end Mythic progression, there was like I think like 5% of like there's no Vengeance Demon Hunters used in really high end Mythic raids, but in Mythic Plus, Vengeance Demon Hunters are doing very very nicely. And they're supposed to be really fun to play as well. You were telling me the reasons why Vengeance Demon Hunters weren't used in the raids.
I don't really know exactly why, but it's obviously the mitigation is not as great as sustained mitigation. The mitigation is really poor, and for Mythic Plus you don't need that mitigation, sustain mitigation in Mythic Plus, because obviously the boss don't last that long or the trash don't last that long. You kill them, relatively fast. So that's one of the main reasons. But obviously, there's many other reasons why they're not good in actual raids. But I don't really know.
Yeah, I would need to
I just know the main one.
I would need to get Vengeance Demon Hunter to come on, and talk about this. But either way, Vengeance Demon Hunters are really good for Mythic Plus. There's a lot. Like if we look at the tanks, like we're looking at Mythic Plus 25 to 29s. If you look at like the
29,
25 to 29, that's the level that's in rated.io. Yeah, you see a lot of blood DKs. Blood DKs are really kind of dominating. It's actually interesting to see protection paladins in there as well. Like the main team, the main team that Shakib's team, JD's team, they have a Windwalker monk. Big surprise. Windwalkers are doing extremely strong for single target AoE. They're doing extremely strong. They have utility. They have a AoE stun. They're one of the most mobile classes in the game. Like it's just insane. Like on top of that, they're also a really fun class to play. They also have an Affliction Warlock. Like I'm betting it's an Affliction Warlock. An Affliction, like it is an Affliction Warlock. That's probably Affliction Warlocks are on the same level, super broken. These probably are the two classes that are really strong. Windwalker monks, Affliction Warlocks, both in raids, both in Mythic Plus. Affliction Warlocks also have the battle res, but the battle res has changed. So
but it's not yet implemented.
7.3.5, no?
Yeah.
Well, in USA that's already changed.
What is the patches? Oh yeah, the patches out next week. Yeah.
So it's kind of a bit like the utility might be a bit there. And then you have like balanced druids. Balanced druids, I was going to mention that balanced druids were probably like a close third best class or whatever. Just because their AoE is so strong, they have the best personal cooldown in the game with Bear Form. Bear Form, like if you do really high keys, you'll know that some of the bosses will just outline one-shot you. Like there is no... And those abilities can happen every 20 seconds. Shader Medivh, Dark Heart Ticket, he does that Shadow Bolt or whatever every like 30 seconds. Do you have a cooldown that's going to mitigate like 20%, 30% of your damage? Like probably even more than that. And a balanced druid can just shift into the Bear Form, Frenzy Regen or whatever. And it's just like the best cooldown you can get. That's one of the reasons why like druids are doing really well. Rest of druids are doing well. Bear Form is extremely strong for those insanely high keys. And like I said, Windwalkers and Affliction Warlocks are just insanely strong right now. But for tanks, I'm actually I forgot to mention like the team, the Shakib's team, the JD's team, or whatever. When Shakib was on holidays, I'm not completely sure. I think you watch his stream. I don't watch that many other people's streams, but when he was on holidays, they opted in to get a protection paladin, which is really interesting to see a protection paladin really, really high keys.
Well, they did for specific dungeons where paladin protection paladins are really good. Like Lower Karzhan is extremely good there, and not
Why
to
are
mention
paladins good at
protection
lower
paladins are
Karzhan?
good. There's a lot of CC need
Oh,
interrupting, and they have constant interrupts.
Oh, that's true.
It's actually, and they have really high damage as well, which is really good. They're not that bad. Protection paladins are not that bad. Obviously, survivability is a problem, but the new 4 set is helped, and honestly, they're not that bad. Like, if you go look at the protection paladins list, like they did many different dungeons with it, not only like the lower Karzhan. I did watch a Kutri streams when he was doing them, and you do require a lot of like external cooldowns. He does die a lot because they know that he's gonna die in that certain trash pack because he can't survive that. But they just kind of go around it. The weaknesses of Paladin.
That's actually interesting. Federico from chat.
Yeah.
You can survive that with 20 to 30% avoidance gear. Like maybe stacking avoidance gear is also a.
Well, you have to have it. You need to have at least 20% avoidance to do those high keys for those really difficult bosses, like they're really hard hitting bosses. Also, Pridus as well.
Well, Pridus goes without saying for a lot
Yeah.
of the bosses. Like you cannot even attempt to do without Pridus some of the bosses like one shots, especially if you're a class like it's at the end of the day for these insanely high keys 28 27s it's more about survivability than anything else. Like survivability is a big key to do. Like dead DPS is 0 DPS.
When you look at all the lists like Warlocks and Boomkins, Death Knights, they all have battle reses. A lot of reason why you bring it is got a battle res, because it's such a huge benefit to bring a battle res.
Do you think you'll see a different class balance now because
It
of the
will
battle
be.
res? What's the battle res changes? Is something like you get 3 battle reses per you get 1 battle res every 10 or 15 minutes or something? Let me find some information.
Every 10 minutes, I think. Every 10 minutes. So if 2 people die on the same boss, you can only res once. That's huge. Like nowadays, you have 3 battle reses almost in every group. At least 2 battle reses in those high keys. So if 2 people screw up at the same time, you can still survive. Now you can't do it. That's it. So
you're
I
right.
think this will
It's
be
every 10
huge.
minutes. It's every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's massive. You will see a lot of different. I say you see different classes or even maybe specs. I don't know. It will be big change.
It'll definitely make higher keys harder.
It will make classes that don't have battle res. They were good, but they lacked something. Like hunters are gonna be really good now. They were decent. They had good damage. Like hunters have really good damage. They have good CC. They have good utility. They have good survivability. Well, kind of good survivability. But they lacked battle res. And now with that kind of change, you will see a lot of hunters. Like I guarantee you, there'll be a lot of more hunters in those high keys.
I can see that this is going to affect hierarchies a lot. Talking about WoW progress, talking about Mythic Plus score. Is 7.3.5 going to reset your Mythic Plus score because of the Balres changes? Like should the new season start for 7.3.5? I would think so. I would almost think so because with the Mythic Plus changes, a lot of these high keys.
I think they will rebalance the everything again. All the dungeons.
That's what I mean. They should. Because this Mythic Plus change, this Mythic Plus battle res change is pretty huge for really high keys. Like look, like these teams have 3 battle reses with them, available every 10 minutes. So technically, if the dungeon takes around 30 or 40 minutes, whatever, you can have a lot of battle reses going off there. You can have a lot of battle reses.
And like a lot of the pulls that you do, you die on purpose to skip certain trashes, and maybe one guy who's invisible, like the Resto Druid, would just go past and then res everyone. There's a lot of pulls based on that to have the battle res. So that another part of it that goes, So it's a big change, and it's needed change because it limits what class you can bring. Like if you must have one battle res minimum. You prefer two, and like if you don't have that, like
now you just
if you
need one
want,
class who can battle res. That's all you need in the Mythic
yeah,
dungeons.
pretty much, and that's always gonna be DK or Druid, DK tank or Druid. So
Affliction Warlock.
Don't get me started with them, dude.
What's so? What do you think? Do you think the battle res changes are good?
Yeah.
You think they're good? I think they're good. Oh, this says there's a cap on 100% cap. Okay, avoidance. I'm not sure about the avoidance cap, something like that. Not for yet. I think I'm like, I know class balance and all this. So a lot of people coming into the stream and saying like, how's the class doing? How's the assassination rogues doing? How is the thing? We're looking at a really high Mythic Plus. We're looking at like 26, 27. Like, god damn, they did lower cards on 26, 2-chested it. Like, we're looking at some like top players in the world in terms of Mythic Plus. And to be completely honest, you really do have to do a lot of Mythic Plus to be a good Mythic Plus player in these high keys, because you need to know mobs inside out. You need to know the different mechanics. You need to know the different not exploits, just workarounds and things like that. Like a person who's great at Mythic on Taurus, never done Mythic Plus or whatever, comes in to do one of these high keys. Yeah, they're probably going to struggle a bit because they don't know the exact tactics. But it's interesting to see more and more Mythic Plus skills. You said this before, Mythic Plus skills. I find that really interesting. I feel that there's going to be more and more people who just focus on Mythic Plus. But the point is, if you want to do some of the Mythic Plus high keys, you need to get gear from Taurus. Do you feel that... this is actually an interesting concept. You know, the way PvP gear is completely like, okay, a lot of people will hate the way that PvP gear is just, you get a set amount of stats. Like, it's kind of like... But let's be honest, it's super stupid. Imagine if you're doing on Taurus and you would have like 20% haste depending on your item level. Like, like you reach 960 and you get 25% haste. Like, like the templates, gear templates, the way they work in PvP. It's, in my personal opinion, it's completely nonsense. Because I think like in an MMO game, you should always have this concept of, okay, I got this nice piece of loot. Let me decide on which stats I want to get. Like, give me the customization that I need to get those edge builds, to get these different meta builds and stuff like that. But we're not talking about PvP. Imagine if they actually would do something like tier sets for Mythic Plus. No. Or they separate the gear in some way for Mythic Plus to raids. So you would have people who just do Mythic Plus and people who just do raids.
Well, they probably will have that because the tier sets are gone next expansion. And I assume, well, they're not gone, but they're going to be implemented some way in the raids. But I assume
it's not going to be in the raids. It's going to be in the... I'm telling you right now, I'm calling it. I'm calling it now, dude. Heart of Azeroth.
It could be Heart of... Or it could be... Maybe you need to beat like certain bosses, gives you like some kind of token or something to upgrade or something like that. It could be that way as well, like, It could also be... If it's like Heart of Azeroth, it will work both for Mythic Plus and Raider. So
it's true.
So it's basically they have their own tier from... You can get it from either way. If you don't like raiding, you can just do Mythic Plus and get tiers.
Like, you see this thing, I'm showing the picture of the Heart of Azeroth, but they should include like, artifact ability kind of tree. I feel that they're gonna input tiers here. I feel there's going to be somewhat tier sets going on in here. Somehow. That's what I think. Because let's be honest. Let's all be honest here. I know Blizzard said we're getting rid of the tiers. I know Blizzard said they're going to, like, not gonna implement tiers. And I don't know why, man. Tier sets have been a disaster, man. Look at Nighthold, look at Tomb of Sargeras, and look at Antorus. It was fine when it was Nighthold because that was the first tier set. Emerald Nightmare didn't have tier sets. Nighthold came in, you got the tier sets, you want to get the tier sets straight away. Good. You have the 4 set or you don't have the 4 set. You have the 6, like you have the 6 sets or whatever. Doesn't matter. You don't have to do mix and match. Then you come in, then Tomb of Sargeras comes out. Then you're like, oh man, 2-piece tier 19, that could be good for me. Maybe 4-piece tier 19, that could be good for me. And because the Warforges and Titan Forges, maybe I will have to stick with tier 19. Okay, I'm using a previous tier set. not the worst. Like, I mean, it's kind of nightmarish to try and farm it, but okay. Now you have on Tauros, and now you're like, for like rest of Druid, you're looking at tier 19 2 set when there's tier 21 available, and like the combination of those, and you're like, man, if tier 19 Titan Forge is a bit more, I might be using this for the whole time. And like, and let's be honest, the whole point of the whole breakage of the system is Warforging system. You won't have this issue if you didn't have Titan Forging or Warforging. You would look at tier 19 and you're like, okay, that can only be 900 item level, or that can only be 910 or whatever.
Will never remove Warforging. You need to stop. Just
They'll
stop.
never remove Warforging.
They will never remove it. I'm telling you.
They're still keeping Warforging in the thing, but tiers have been a disaster. So they're going to remove the way tiers are implemented right now, taking up your slots. They don't want to lock you out. They don't want to lock you out. What? I
like that change, definitely.
Yeah, that's perfect. Really, they don't exactly. They don't want to lock you out of your shoulder piece. They don't want to lock you out. Or they don't want to lock you out of, like, chest, legs, or whatever. Because once you get 985 legs, and you're like, whatever, I'm using a tier set in there, and that's never gonna replace it. Like, you don't even, like, honestly, when you open your weekly chest right now, you actually hoping to get rings, neck, bracers, belt, because that's probably going to be a guaranteed upgrade. Because if you get a helm, shoulders, or chest, you'll be like, oh my god, I need to go back to Silkcraft.
Legendary as well.
And then the legendary. It's like, like it's insane. You're so limited in terms of upgrades, and it's in Mythic Plus as well. If you get like a helm or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, that was waste. Like, you're only basically looking for your rings, neck, waist, bracers, upgrades, because those are not legendaries, like you said. But here we kind of drifted off. What was I asking before? Class balance.
Class balance. I have just one thing to say about external influences to Mythic Plus. For example, like engineers have the Cyanide bomb or something that basically interrupts AoE interrupt, and you can use it in Mythic Plus. That's like a huge buff, and if like a lot, like you have to have it in those high keys. It's actually insane. Like, I don't understand, why is this even allowed? Why would you have this kind of like external engineering bomb that you can use on Mythic Plus for your advantage? Also, like the class, the races, Blood Elves.
Yeah.
If you're not a Blood Elf, you're not doing high keys. Like, simple
because of
as
that. What is it called? Arcane Torrent.
Arcane Torrent. Yeah, it's so OP. It's an AoE silence every 2 minutes. That's insane. Like, that frustrates me so much. Those two changes, that thing should have been nerfed ages ago.
But here,
absolutely.
Here, we're getting into the allied race racials.
What about it? They're not that big though. Well,
I guess not that big for Mythic Plus, if I really think about it.
They're not that big, no.
I have a picture here. Like, I mean, a lot of people, some of the people are saying that it's a bit too much. Let me just see if I can put it up. Like, I mean, there's a teleport, and there's that one. Your spells and cast are not delayed by taking damage. That's pretty big, but that's not. It's like, it's not mind breaking.
That's not a big deal.
I guess a teleport could be a big deal. What do you think? Rips a hole in space and time, transporting it to the target location. Wait, 100-yard range.
How long is the cooldown, I wonder?
1.5, 30 yards. 30 yards. Wow, it's 30 yards. It's actually really long. I actually thought it's going to be much less than that.
It's just a gap closer.
It's a gap closer, but the point is, 1.5 minute cooldown. The point is, teleports are always better than, like the roll ability from monks and stuff like that. Because look at like Elisande, so the rings that collapse onto you. If you teleport, you avoid the whole damage. If you roll over it, or if you use the other abilities, you're going to die, or you're going to take damage. So teleports can be like life saving, and this is going to be a teleport ability, and it's 30-yard range.
Yeah, I'm definitely being what else.
Could be really strong, and especially it's a caster. When your spells cast are no longer delayed by taking damage, that definitely seems really, really strong for casters and anyone who's like immobile. Shadow Priest Heaven. Can they be Shadow Priests? Can Void Elves be Shadow Priests? Because I'm gonna see like every Shadow Priest being Void Elf, because Shadow Priest is just notoriously immobile, notoriously lacking cooldowns and things like that. It's just
that's another thing about class spawns with Shadow Priest. Like, they're the only one class that doesn't really have a cooldown.
personal
Like
cooldown.
personal cooldown, like DPS personal cooldown. Like
Well, they
that's like you can have as a talent, whatever the called talent is, but you don't take that.
Shadow
You
Priest.
obviously have the shadow form, but shadow form doesn't really count because it's kind of like base rotation for you.
No, you have that thing that turns you into a ball. What is it?
What?
Dispersion.
No, I mean a DPS cooldown.
Oh, a DPS cooldown. I
They
actually
don't
don't know
have a
anything about Shadow
DPS
Priest.
cooldown. You can have the inner something like talent, but you don't take that because you sacrifice with the dot damage.
Yeah, but Affliction Warlocks don't have that much DPS cooldowns.
Uh, They still have it.
They don't have that many. Affliction Warlocks are actually like not crazy.
It depends. If you're taking tyrannical, you can take the if it's tyrannical weak, you would take the cooldown.
It's true. I'm not like I don't know exactly about that much about Affliction Warlock rotation, but it's definitely like, you know, Affliction Warlock is not that crazy dependent on cooldowns when you compare something like a Retribution Paladin, whose whole DPS is basically coming from wings. Like, if you don't time your wings properly, it's like bye bye. It's like
Same thing with Fury Wars.
It's like there's a lot of classes who are highly dependent on cooldowns, and there's classes who are not dependent on cooldowns, and probably Affliction Warlock would fall under that in some way.
But most of the time, you know, Mythic Plus is unique cooldowns because you're doing big pulls, and you want to do as much damage as possible during those big pulls with cooldowns. If you just have no cooldowns, it's not really that efficient. But obviously, high level keys that the mob is much higher health, you know. So that's why Affliction Warlocks are good because the mobs stay alive longer and you can just dot them up, you know. It's also another
Affliction
thing.
Warlocks is just too much sustain as well. Have you seen those videos where they like
Without a healer?
Four Affliction Warlocks, one Blue DK, don't even need a healer, the sustain is a bit broken. I'm actually leaning towards trying an Affliction Warlock. I know a lot of the stuff that I said about, like, you know, I don't know the exact. From what I've heard, it's not supposed to be it's not supposed to be that hard to play an Affliction Warlock. It's one of those classes where, like, it's easy to start but hard to master. I think a lot of the classes fall under that umbrella in World of Warcraft. Easy to start but hard to master.
Some classes are like really easy to play.
Like what?
Like BM Hunters.
BM Hunter hate.
Demon Hunters, 2 abilities.
BM Hunters, Demon Hunter hate. Havoc Demon Hunters. We're talking Havoc Demon Hunters.
Havoc Demon Hunters. Like,
yeah, I agree. Those two classes are a little bit easier, but again, Demon Hunters are a bit more legendary dependent. BM Hunters, I would like if you're a new player coming into World of Warcraft and you're like, I want to do Mythic Plus, I want to do raids. I'm looking for a simple enough class to start off. I want to play a range because BM Hunters are range, but at the same time, first of all, BM Hunters are just so insanely mobile, and one of the biggest things that a lot of people who are starting World of Warcraft are like, they're losing a lot of DPS because they don't predict when the damage is gonna incoming, and they don't cast, or they don't, like, you know, when you're moving, you can refresh your dots, or you can, like, you know, as a boomkin, you have enough astral power, and you can do a star surge or something during movement, because that takes a global cooldown. So you're not technically losing DPS by moving. But when you're a new player, you come in, you kind of don't know about this. The damage comes in, you're just like moving from A to B without doing anything. And that's like a big reason why a lot of players are coming in, range players, and they're losing a lot of damage, especially for those classes who are movement dependent, or like elemental shamans. If they have to move, they're basically GG. Like it's terrible for them. It's terrible for them to do anything. And BM Hunter is kind of like super strong on the move. So you won't lose DPS on that. They have like crazy amount of utility. What is it? They have the heroism or the bloodlust, and they also have battle res. So that's the only That's the only class actually who has that combination. I can't think of anything else. I think that's the only class that has that combination of battle res and bloodlust. And on top of that, Beast Mastery Hunter, the least legendary dependent class in the game. Actually, most of the legendaries are super close in value. Like, it's actually insane. So if you're the type of player who's just starting playing a game and you're like, oh, I got a crap legendary, it's most likely a very decent for you. Your legendary is most likely going to be a very decent upgrade. And that's probably only BM Hunters, though. That's probably only BM Hunters.
There's probably more classes. But BM Hunters is obviously a very safe choice. But you know, if you don't like range, you want melee. Melee is a lot of different ball game completely. Because, you know, in higher keys, Melees do a lot of the work because they need to interrupt. They need to interrupt a lot. They have a shorter cooldown on interrupts, so you need to do a lot of more work than actual range DPS would. So it's more stressful for melee actually, or a tank. It's more stressful than range. Like range is really chill.
They just have to organize interrupts. I know melee is mainly like, you know, they have the interrupts, but rest of shamans also have interrupts.
Yeah, you have to organize obviously, but obviously warlocks have, was it 40-second interrupt, you know, or boomkins have the lunar thing. It's also 1 minute cooldown, I think it is. You know, obviously it's not as often.
Yeah, it's around like your cooldown is reduced if you actually get to interrupt the person as well. But yeah, ranged usually, you know, it's not uncommon to say around half a minute to a minute interrupt. Like that's usual how long it is. And melee are there, you know, they're part of the action. They need to interrupt. They need to do it. But you know, if you're in a Discord group, it should be all good. That's actually another big part. So pugging Mythic Plus and stuff like that. Pugging Mythic Plus with your, you know, with your lonely affliction warlock or whatever, with your WoW progress score of 1000 and trying to pug a 15, and then you realize that hey, you need to have 2000 WoW progress score and stuff like that. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. I know, like, if you don't have like a crazy WoW, and first of all, for the people who don't know about the WoW progress score and rated REO has their own progress score, and WoW progress has its own as well, and they're both different but same in a lot of ways. I think rated.io, the way that they calculate, I'm actually trying to put up my Mythic Plus score and the way they do it. Rated.io is a lot more about how fast you did the dungeon and things like that. So they give you a different. You can see here for rated.io Mythic Plus score. You see someone did plus 28 and they did it in 1 hour and 4 minutes, and they got a score of 336. But someone did a lower Karazhan key for plus 27, actually one upgraded ones, plus 27 in time, and they got a 500 score. So you can see that completing a really high key but not in time sometimes is not worth as in completing a key who's like 2 levels below you but doing that in time. So doing it fast and in time is really, really important, and most of the time will give you a higher score. So rated.io calculates it different from how WoW Progress does it. It calculates it different from how WoW Progress does it. And you also need to make sure, for the new people who are exactly looking at WoW Progress scores, you need to do every single dungeon. You can have 23s in like every dungeon except, say, in like 5 dungeons or 6 dungeons, but you might not even attempt at more Souls or Halls of Valor. So you're missing a huge amount of score from there. You need to base.
That.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I think that's stupid.
I kind of find that really weird. Like, if you're applying, why don't they do it in this way? If you're applying for more Souls key, can the add-on not determine that they're looking for more Souls and look at your highest more Souls key?
You're expert at that dungeon.
Yeah, you can be an expert at that dungeon.
You're not doing a dungeon that you're not familiar with. Like, you're not going to be doing 27 key for a dungeon that you never done before or doing very little. Like, I don't know. I hate it because there's some dungeons that I just can't stand. I hate Lower Karazhan. I hate the Cathedral. Seat is the worst dungeon ever made. Like, those dungeons I never do, ever. Like, I don't know. That's why my key is really low. Well, obviously I don't play that much, but
you pleb.
Still, I hate that. I really hate
the
way that you have to do every week. You have to do every single dungeon, the highest key you can possibly do for every single dungeon. That's a lot of work.
It absolutely is a lot of work, and that's why I don't understand why it has to be a cumulative score of. I get it why, but I mean they could just look at your best more Souls or whatever. But either way, you have to, for right now, you have to do every key, every dungeon, and try and get as high key as possible with, you know, fastest times as possible. And then, like, if you're applying for the pugs and there's about 20 other DPS that are applying, you know, most of the time people will look at the Mythic Plus score. Most of the time we'll look at, and I know people will be like, yeah, like there's a double-edged sword here. You might be a good player and you'd be looking to do higher keys to get your Mythic Plus score up, but you can't get invited to those Mythic Plus because you need a higher Mythic Plus score. So, like, you can't get in there. There's no way to get in there for you. And my personal opinion is, like, if you're doing like lower keys, Like if you're doing like a 10, 11 or 12 key, a lot of the times the people who end up doing those kind of keys, it's easier to do like a 17 or 18 if you get into it.
I can vouch for that.
Because the lower keys, you get a lot more players who might not be that experienced, who might not have done the dungeon. So a lot of people who are like, I get this a lot, man. I get this a lot. Like, oh, I can't even do a 14 key. How are you even doing 19s, 20s? A lot of the times, those 19, 20s are easier than those 13 keys. Because the people that you might get in those 13 keys, who might not know how the dungeon works, might not know how the class works and things like that. And that's why I tell a lot of people, if you have the option to get into a Mythic Plus group, like a guild group, and you know the DPS is going to be, like, we're not talking about top world DPS. We're not talking about like 4 million or 3 million sustained DPS throughout the whole dungeon. We're talking about the decent DPS, a decent like mythic level or even heroic level guild DPS. You can do like a 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 keys with pretty, depending on affixes of course, with easier, less effort. Like I've done 9 keys that were insanely hard because the tank doesn't know how to use the cooldowns, doesn't have the right gear. He probably was wearing cloth or something, I don't know. Either way, the tank is just getting like 2-shot by everything. And then you walk into like a 20 key where the tank knows what's going on and you're like, I'm not healing at all. Like there's nothing to do. What's going on? So it's like, and a lot of those people who will be doing those 15 keys or 13 keys with the bad groups, and they'll be like, man, I just can't imagine how the hierarchies are going to be.
Yeah,
like there's no way I can attempt this in like my life. Like it's way out of my league. It really isn't. And that's why no matter how bad the Mythic Plus score, the WoW progress score is, no matter how many people hate it, a lot of the times it is a good indication of how good the player is. That's like, I know it's a bad system. I know it's not the best system. I know there's a lot of flaws in it. I know there is like a person who has a low Mythic Plus score cannot get into it because he wants to build up the score, but he can't get into it unless he has a guild group. But at the end of the day, that is still like one of the best indications. It's sad. What do you think?
Absolutely. I live that every time because I don't play the game that much, and obviously don't have very high mythic score, and it's just absolute nightmare getting a group. But then when I actually get a group, they're really bad. Like, and it's so hard to get through the key. Like I told you, remember when I was on my paladin, holy paladin, I was doing upper Karzan key.
Yeah.
What's Medivh boss?
Oh, that's a pain.
That must been the hardest thing I ever done. It was like 16, I think it was mid plus 16 key. Oh my lord, that was hard. And obviously the tank wasn't great. The DPS wasn't great. They weren't interrupting. You can avoid the fire debuff if you just run really fast and you literally just avoid the debuff completely. Like there's many things a lot of people don't know about that boss.
You can actually avoid the fire debuff. Oh, you can displace a beast out of it, right?
No, you just run. If you just have some kind of speed boost, just step out like 10 yards away so you don't affect anyone else, and then just run just before, like 1 second before, just run really fast somewhere else.
Well, that's actually very interesting. I actually didn't know about this. You can definitely displace a beast out of it.
High mythic player doesn't know this? Come on now.
I'm not a high mythic player. I just do.
To do that boss on 24, 25, you have to do that. Like you cannot heal through that.
It's true that like for the people who are doing like upper Karzan and then they know the Shade of Medivh, right?
Yeah,
Shade of Medivh boss. I think it's the second boss after Curator. If you're a healer, you know if you're a healer and done that on Tyrannical, you know the pain and the amount of spot healing that's required. Like it's absolutely insane. It's definitely a healing fight. It's probably one of the most healing intensive fights. It's just like so much burst damage that happens when you get the fire debuff. At higher keys, you're like, you can definitely be overwhelmed. And like you just saw Paperkut saying that, if you interrupt it properly, if you have a good interrupt rotation, if you avoid it, if you run out of it, that can be 0 healing.
No, it's
not 0 healing, but it can be it can be very little healing.
No, it's true, yeah. Especially
then,
the tank as well.
Yeah, the tank, and then like if you go to those lower keys where the people might not know about this, all of a sudden that boss becomes like, 0. No one avoids any mechanic. It insanely high. And like you just said, completing that dungeon in 16 key with not knowing, with all the DPS not knowing what to do, that's basically should be equivalent as doing like a 24 key or something for the people who know exactly what to do. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what I feel. It's like it seems like so hard.
It's exactly what's like that.
It's like you're doing something like 10 difficulties higher than it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. So that's why I get really, I don't get upset. I just get like the people who always who do lower Mythic plus keys and stuff like that, and they're always like super down about not doing like 13s. I'm like, oh no, I can't do a 13 key, I can't do a 15 key. A lot, it's all up to the group, and that's why what I said like earlier in the video, 5-man groups. 5-man groups. There's a lot more personal responsibility. Your DPS, your healing is like, you know, you're the one who's like a good DPS can carry the group. Amazing healer can somewhat carry the group. I don't feel that healers can carry groups that much this expansion. I don't think unless you can DPS really well, and you know, if you have a DPS gear and stuff like that, you can help out a lot more. But I feel that tanks and DPS can carry groups a lot more. But that's, I guess, like if you're a healer and going into DPS spec, we're not going to talk about DPS as a healer because a lot of people who are just entering Mythic Plus, they might not even feel comfortable about healing them rather than just actually DPSing them. But you definitely, as a healer, should start looking into, you know, throwing out those moonfires or whatever when you don't have to heal up, because it does help out. Believe me, actually, it does help out. You can end up doing like 5-10% of the, well, maybe not that much.
There's another thing about like trinket swapping. It's a huge part of Mythic Plus. Like as DPS, if you don't do trinket swapping, you're not gonna be doing good DP damage.
Oh, trinket and gear swapping.
And gear, yeah, trinket, the gear sets, and usually just gear sets obviously for single target if you're the boss or whatever. But usually the trinket is the most important one. For big AoE packs, you need to save to make sure that you have the AoE ability, like the umbrella or whatever
umbrella.
Moonglaves. Moonglaves, yeah.
Umbrella Moonglaves.
Save that. What?
Is it not Umbral Moonglaves?
Something like that. I don't know. Yeah, that was the best one. There's other cool ones, other trinkets now, but
it's confirmed, guys. Umbrella Moonglaves.
A lot of people still use that. Like, it's more about unused trinkets than active trinkets in Mythic Plus.
Oh, the Moonglaves are absolutely still one of the best AoE trinkets in the thing.
It's also, I don't know if Blizzard intended this, the whole point of kiting in Mythic Plus, because in the higher keys you need to kite, especially when doing like really high ones, and you're doing a big packs, and they obviously gonna hurt a lot, like the pack in Neltana's Lair, you know, before the second boss, the Pelter pack.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot survive that in a high key. The Pelters will just kill you. So the way most groups do it, they usually have a DK, and they just go in, get as much aggro as possible, and then they have a warlock to teleport out with the portal and just run max range from the mobs. So the mobs will just run at the tank and won't even use any pelter abilities, just keep running at the tank, and people just kill them off. Like, that sounds like an exploit, and you have to use that tactic on many trash packs, especially Halls of Valor as well. There's many packs like that, and I don't like that. I don't think it's intended. I don't think it's intended, because you literally kite like half the room, like half the dungeon sometimes. You kite like that much.
It's true. I've seen that. It seems a bit broken, doesn't it?
It is, yeah. Not to mention, like, a lot of people don't know, you like tanks, you have to use the Sky Step potion to increase your movement speed. Like, like a lot of people don't know these little things. Like, because to pick up aggro as a tank, like on multiple ads that are scattered all over, it's really hard. So you need to use like a, interact like a potion to increase your movement speed. All these little things, like, kind of, knowledge adds up to your skill level, which, is
knowledge is skill level.
But that's the thing. Like, look at the first Mythic Invitational. It wasn't very good. Like, the level of, like, the quality of the dungeons, like the speed, the amount of the speed, like how fast they complete and everything, wasn't really that high. There's a lot of groups that failed even complete the dungeons. and it wasn't really high. I thought it'd be a lot higher than that. But if you look at it now, like I watch a lot of the streams that do really high mythic groups or dungeons, and it's just increased dramatically. Players know a lot more about the dungeons, what to use, what the best classes, what paths to take, and it's only gonna get higher, and it's gonna be even. I say this Mythic Invitational that's coming up now is gonna be really competitive. There's a lot of good groups, especially in Europe and Americas. That it's honestly, it's gonna be really entertaining.
Absolutely, man.
I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I still think Europe is gonna win it, but we'll see.
For the Europe, absolutely, man. I don't think for the first Mythic Dungeon Invitation, I don't think anyone thought it's going to be that watched. I don't think people, like, people weren't really prepared for it. People, like, I mean, there were guilds, there were teams who were running for it. But I don't think people ever thought it's going to be like, what is it, 20,000 people watching, or like even more than that.
Yeah.
20, like that many people watching at the same time. The quality of the commentators and the quality, like, it was really, really cool. It was a proper esport event. It was really interesting. It was, for me, it was far more entertaining than anything Blizzard has ever done in terms of esports. But that's my personal opinion. I thought it was like the most entertaining esport event by Blizzard. Wait, they do Overwatch as well, right? I don't know. Okay, but it was really cool. It was really cool because you get to see the mythic dungeons. You get to see the different paths. You get to see the different. Like I said before, we talked about this. Let us see the legendaries. Let us see the gears. Let us see the talent choices, and let us see the point of view of the player. It would make it a like top notch entertainment, and you'll see right now with the new Mythic Dungeon Limit, I really feel it should do it way more than once a year. Like, hopefully it's going to be more than once a year. But you'll definitely see a lot of guilds going after this one. You'll see a lot of. You saw that Raider.io team as well. You'll see.
What happened to them? They disbanded.
I actually don't know what happened to any of them.
What happened? I have no idea.
Reddit.io, Team Big Bull, honestly. Well,
the Raider, the Rogue, Miracle Step, or what's his name? Muscle Brow, he's in a different team now, so I assume they did split up. I don't know the story, to be honest.
How do you even... You know what they should do? You know what Blizzard should implement? This is what I feel really strongly... Well, I don't know about strongly about it. Oh yeah, they actually could be like a Mythic Dungeon Invitational with the 5 tanks or 4 warlocks. I think they would do that. Like, they probably complete the dungeon really, really fast. I think we actually could see 4 Affliction Warlocks and 1 Blood DK going Mythic Dungeon Invitational.
I don't think so.
I think part of their strength was, the 5 Battle Reses. And with the Battle Res nerf, I think maybe that Battle Res nerf was directly at them as well. They don't want no healer.
No, they should just nerf Warlocks. That's it.
Nerf Warlocks. Stop.
What are you talking?
Blasphemy. Warlocks need all the strength that
Warlocks
they can get.
Warlocks are good at everything. It's a poor class design.
You can I'm actually showing right now on the stream the Mythic 20 to 24 class breakdown. Affliction Warlocks are like, well, it's Warlocks in general, one of the highest ones. In 25 plus, we're talking about like insanely world first keys. Warlocks and Druids are one of the highest played classes.
Actually, one like 26 key, I think a couple of weeks ago, it was a Shaman. I was surprised, Shaman Healer.
Oh yeah, I see. There's a 27 Shaman Healer. Oh, we're talking about the healing.
27, yeah, sorry, yeah.
We're talking about healing balance right now. Oh my goodness, healing balance is so fair, dude. It's between a Resto Druid and a Holy Paladin. And then there is no one else. And I know people are gonna be like, man, there's no people playing this priest. There's no people playing Mistweaver Monks. So we can't say that Resto Druids and Holy Paladins are the best.
This priest is not made for Mythic Plus.
Oh,
it will never work. I'm telling you, it's impossible.
Controversial.
You cannot prepare the damage like that way. It doesn't work.
I mean, they do suffer when there's no mobs in there for like Grievous and things like that. Grievous is supposed to be a pretty painful for this priest. Same with Resto Shamans, man. The whole Resto Shaman mastery is just not built. Like, I mean, you don't want anyone to fall to 10-20% HP, you know? You don't want to play that dangerous.
They don't have a tank healing like a buff or something.
Spirit Link.
Like Air Shield. No, I mean Air Shield like it was before. They don't have that.
What do you mean?
They don't have anything to put on a tank except like Riptide, but Riptide is like...
Oh, you mean for tank damage?
Like, what the hell? If they had Riptide, I say Shamans would be really good.
Shamans do have Riptide.
Not Riptide,
Earth Shield. Earth Shield. You want to bring Earth Shield from PvP and put it in PvE? Yes. Yes. Bring Earth Shield back.
It will be in next expansion, guaranteed.
Bring Earth. I can't believe it. Why did they take Earth Shield away from Shamans, man? For the people who don't know what Earth Shield is, it's a shield that's made out of. It's just literally how can I say it? The other classes. It's just basically something that can't, like Life Bloom. It's Life Bloom. Let's look at it. Life Bloom. It reduces protects the target with an earthen shield, reduces all damage to the target received by 10%. So that's actually awesome straight away. And causes the target to be healed when they take an attack equal to 4% of the total health. So it's kind of like continuous healing when you need a healing. So it's actually like a smart Life Bloom kind of deal. Honestly, this should get that for Mythic Plus at least. Honestly,
what?
Earth Shield for Shamans. That would be so fun, honestly.
It's too late now. But it is true, the healing balance is not very good, to be honest. I don't think this playstyle will not work in Mythic Plus. Like,
healing balance is, first of all, healing balance. We're looking at the really high Mythic Plus keys here. We're looking at like if you're a healer who's not looking to push 26 or 27, you can do it. Any healer is great for it. Every healer is great for it. When you look at these insanely high keys, 26, 27, yeah, man, utility, survivability is like really important. For specific affixes as well, it's really, really important. And druids and holy paladins are just really good at that kind of thing. Bear form is insane. Holy paladins, like their HP increase. What is it? They have that special ability that makes them like, you know, they can get some crazy amount of HP. Bop, blessing of protection, can be used to cheese a lot of mechanics. I have a Shara, last boss, where he does, you know, the little circle around everyone. Everyone needs to soak it. Bop.
Wrote on morals.
Does that remove as well?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Bop can be insanely strong. And yeah, of course, there's not that many Mistweaver monks out there. There's not that many Disc Priest out there, actually. Those two of those specs in terms of healing are the least played classes in the game. There are a lot of restoration shamans out there, if you look at the Parsis and things like that. But there's very little Resto Shaman representation in really high Mythic Plus keys. And that's like, man, Resto Shaman in 5-mans, the playstyle, my personal opinion, is like, I don't know, one of the most fun healers in raids and one of the least fun healers in 5-mans for me, at least.
I think if they get Air Shield, they have an range interrupt on 50-second cooldown. They have AoE stun.
Yeah. Utilities is there.
Bloodlust. Yeah, it's insane. In two big raid cooldowns. 3 actually, if you take the other one, the Incarnation, not Incarnation.
The Rest Totem.
No. The big cooldown that gives you healing, splits healing.
Oh, you mean Cloudburst? Oh, Ancestral Guidance.
Ascendance.
No, Ascendance and Ancestral Guidance as well. But you're talking about 5-mans.
Then, yeah.
Okay, Ascendance would be in 5-mans. A lot of people would go with
it. Be in 5-mans.
But the point is, like, first of all, Healing Stream also gives you damage reduction for Resto Shamans. And Ghost Wolf gives you damage reduction. I can't remember the exact numbers. Like, if you stay in ghost form for 5 seconds or something, it's gonna, like, you know, incrementally give you more damage reduction. And Healing Stream gives you damage reduction. I'm wondering if those two combined are enough for a Resto Shaman to survive like big massive hits. I'm actually really wondering.
Also that all of the abilities are casts, like cast time. Like if there's a lot of movement, they will struggle. Although they do have the cooldown.
They have the Spirit Walker's Grace as well. There's a lot of different ways to look at. there's a lot of different ways to look at it. I'm just wondering about whether the damage reduction from Healing Stream, damage reduction from Ghost Wolf is enough for them to survive really, really big hits. They do have that Earth Shield Totem as well. You know, whatever. Either way, I think like you can't push really high keys. As you can see, like there are Resto Shamans who have pushed 27s. There is a Resto Shaman who pushed 27 quarter stars in 52 minutes. So that's freaking unbelievably. That's really, really good. So it is possible, but I just don't see that many shamans, Resto Shamans in the Mythic Plus. Besides,
how did he do that boss, the second last boss?
Yeah, you also have to remember that tier 21 is really not that. Tier 21 or tier 20 is really not that great for 5-mans. For too much emphasis on Healing Rain. Healing Rain is not in 5-mans.
I think remove it completely. It just doesn't make sense.
Remove what completely?
Healing Rain completely.
What?
I think they should remove all these AoE big heals like that, like the Efflorescence for Druids, Healing Rain. What's the other one?
Why?
I don't like that mechanic. I think it's you just put it there and it just heals. I think it's not very good.
It's a positional mechanic. It requires you to know where the group is gonna stay. I think that's perfectly fine.
No. I think they already have enough heals. You don't need to add more. You just use the core mechanic. Shaman is a chain heal. That's the core healing, AoE healing. You know, Druids have the Hots and Wild Growth. That's the core.
I disagree on this. Dude, it's already so easy. It's already so little spells for a lot of the classes. There's not enough heals, man.
I don't think so.
You can add an additional heals to make it more interesting. I disagree with this, dude.
You only use 2 spells anyway on Mythic Plus. Just so you only use healing, whatever, healing wave, or what it's called.
For Resto Shaman 5-man is literally you know, Riptide, Healing Surge, Healing Tide.
Yeah.
Not Healing Tide.
It's different obviously.
Healing Wave. No, but I get it. Yeah, we went on the balance for the healers. We went to the balance for the tanks as well. For the really high Mythic Plus tanks, Blood DKs are really, really strong. Benches Demon Hunters, first of all, there's really not that many Benches Demon Hunters in the game as well.
That's not why.
So it's interesting. So Benches Demon Hunters are actually really strong. No, actually, these ones are a unique healer class population. So if I do frequency by run, I think frequency by run is like each character will be counted for every run they are in. But yeah, a lot of the times it is JD who did a lot of the runs. But you can see there's a lot of Holy Paladins and Resto Druids. There's a lot of Holy Paladins and Resto Druids and a lot of kids. You see this guy Resto Shaman here doing a lot of keys. But it's basically for the really high keys, Resto Shamans, that Resto Druids, Holy Paladins, that one Resto Shaman is doing really high keys. But yeah, definitely 25 plus keys are populated by certain teams, Mythic Plus teams. They are populated by certain Mythic Plus teams.
Well, a lot of teams swap around players. Like they don't really have a team, but they, you know, it's always the healers, the one that stay. It's always the healers. Like everyone wants the healers, the high level healers. They swap around all the time because everyone needs healers. Like there's lack of good high healers. Like you look at the teams we're looking now. If you go look at it, it's the same team with a different healer, and then you go another group, it's the same team with different healer. Like this, it's just lack of healers. So
I think there's lack of healers. Either way, we kind of looked at the tanks. Blood Decays, Vengeance Demons are doing really, really strong. Protection Balance are decently there. If you look at 20 to 24 keys, it's a lot more broken down. Like, I mean, Brewmasters are strong, Guardians are strong, Protection Balance are doing well. There's not that many Protection Warriors. Like, I don't know what's going on with Protection Warriors that much. I feel Protection Warriors can be really strong as well. Like, I mean, if you're not doing really high keys, don't bother about this. Anything I'm saying right now is really not relevant that much because in really high keys, you can do whatever. Let's be honest, you can do whatever. In lowish keys and like lowish enough keys, you can play whatever class you want and you'll do fine. You'll do fine. Like 20s right now is not the high. Like, you know, 20s are becoming like, you know, a norm. 20s becoming a generally not the high. Like people are doing 24 keys and that'll be like people who do 24 keys like, okay, you're kind of pushing it right now. But the 20 keys are really not considered that high even at this time. But like I said before, people who are doing lower keys can be harder than those 20 keys. But I think honestly we covered on a lot of the Mythic. I don't know how long have been streamed right now.
An hour or something.
Jesus, an hour long discussion on Mythic Plus.
It's interesting, you know, big change to WoW.
The
it's
Mythic
gonna be.
Well, you mean the Balres? Oh, you mean the whole
like
Mythic
Plus, like the system.
Oh, of course.
I really don't like one thing about this system is the different affixes. I don't like that.
You don't like
too many of them. There's too many of them. I think they should just have certain amount, like 3 or 4 less affixes.
I actually didn't even cover the affixes right now. I actually think they should increase the amount of affixes. I think they should.
Please. Some weeks you get like horrific affix that you just as a tank, a blood decay when there's necrotic. I just don't want to do a Mythic Plus.
Yeah, go on your own.
I don't want to do. Like how is that good? Like it's horrible. It is not good. I like certain class that you play and they're just really bad at those affixes. I really don't want to play my DK tank. Like I think it was a couple of weeks ago. It was necrotic.
If they didn't have that many affixes, I feel it would get boring. Imagine just having like sanguine, volcanic, and fortified the whole time, and just like it'll be boring.
I think you need the one that changes the gameplay, which is bolstering changes the gameplay. Bursting changes the gameplay. You cannot AoE pack. Those two, I say, the key ones that change the gameplay the most. I say. You need to have them.
Exactly. Get more of those. I feel affixes for Mythic Plus is basically like new raid bosses for raids.
I think you mean like those lesser extent affixes like Sanguine. It does change gameplay in certain dungeons. They have really key impact, like Maws of Souls. Sanguine is actually really annoying, but on other dungeons it's like it's non-existent. And I say those affixes are fine, but those they change the key gameplay, like bolstering, like bursting. I can't think of more now, but there's more. I'm sure. Those two ones are really annoying. Like sometimes you get 2 in a row, 2 weeks in a row with those affixes. I hate that. That's horrible. It's just boring for me. When you can't pull AoE pull mobs, you have like 20 small trash, like small HP trash, and you can't AoE them down. What the hell is that? I hate that. I don't know. It's just if you have more, then that'd be just even more.
Okay, I get it. I get both of the points of view. Some of the affixes are super negative for certain classes. Grievous, super bad for like. I'm sure if you're Disc Priest or Resto Shaman, you probably won't be pushing that many high keys if you look at Grievous. I get it. Sometimes you get affixes for 1 week and you're like, okay, I'm gonna AFK for the whole week. I'm gonna do 115 and I'm gonna just, I'm gonna raid. Yeah, at the same time, you also have to understand, like, new affixes are cool. New content, in a way. And at the same time, you have to look at the Blizzard perspective. How do I balance this so every spec, every class feels it's interesting and worthwhile and, fun to do? So there is, like, a huge, like, this... I personally want to see more affixes. I feel more affixes is more content. It can change the whole dungeon. It's like you're doing the whole dungeon from a new perspective.
The lesser ones like Quaking and Volcanic, like they don't really change the gameplay. That's fine. Those ones that doesn't matter really for me. It's those that change the gameplay. Is the ones if you have many of them, that'd be just annoying, to be honest.
Why not? Why not? Maybe they can randomize it in some way.
I don't know, they make you place the way that they want you to play, like the affix. You cannot play your way, your style. You're not allowed to play your style of Mythic Plus. You have to play a different style, and that kind of limits what you can do.
I think it's interesting to see the 2 points of view here. I think it's interesting. I actually prefer having different affixes to change your game style and things like that, or like you bolstering or whatever, where you don't just nuke everyone, or you nuke everyone at the same time. You don't just single target everyone and things like that, and it kind of shows you like how well you can play as a group. Of course, if you join a pug and you join and everyone's just like randomly hitting everyone, it can be a nightmare. And some affixes can be really, really crappy, like you said as well. But man, like I am hoping they're gonna introduce new affixes every couple of months or something. I'm hoping, or every new patches, or every big patches. Like there's so many different ideas they could add to have different affixes. Like I don't understand their reasoning behind affixes, because they used to have overflowing, which was like if you overheal a lot, it's going to like, you know, prevent the healing on the person. So I'm like, okay, Rest of Druid is like easy mode, you don't even care about it. Holy Paladin, you holy shock, you crit for 4 million, like okay, it's a problem now. So yeah, you're like Holy Paladin, it's
but very that's why they removed it.
They removed it, really, but then they introduced Grievous. Where like Disc Priest and like Resto Shamas to some extent, if they have a lot of mastery, if you know a Resto Shaman master, like it's not good for them. So I'm like, why remove overflowing, which is again not great for some classes, and introduce another affix which is not great for another classes?
Yeah.
So I'm like, why just not keep overflowing if you want to have this, like, you know, class preference, and just say that some classes are going to be better in those weeks, rather just introducing something else. I don't know. I don't understand how they did that. Of course, there's going to be different classes that are going to be better for different things, but I'm for one would love to see more affixes. I can tell you that.
I think it's way enough. That change, like, you know, different play styles. I think it's more enough, like sufficient.
I think there needs to be more affixes. How does the chat feel? Do you think there should be more affixes or less affixes? What does the chat think about this? I personally think there should be
disc plus any affix equals screwed. That's true, man.
I feel that there should definitely be more affixes introduced. I feel there should be more different ones and more crazier ones. The ones that affect your game style a lot. The ones that change the dungeon and stuff like that. I definitely feel there should be more. But I see your point at the same time. But anyway. Yes, a lot of people agree. Yes, more. Yes, more. They all agree. More, yes, more.
How dare you?
At least one more plus 10.
I guess they all don't play those classes that completely makes it not fun to play Mythic Plus.
More tyrannical and fortified are boring. Oh, that's actually an interesting point. They should add an additional, you know, the tertiary affix instead of tyrannical and fortified.
What do you mean?
You know that it's always tyrannical or fortified. Why not have an additional one? Why not mix in with like with the other, the bolstering or whatever thing, and have 3 random ones? Something to think about. Raids with affixes. I was actually considering something like that, but too hard to balance.
You were considering that?
Imagine doing Garrote Wordbreaker with Grievous. or doing something like that. That would be awesome, man. That would be awesome. I would really like it. As a Resto Druid, man, yes. Or yes, more Grievous and raids.
The whole raid system based on Mythic Plus.
These are crazy tangents going on. I think it'll be really interesting. I honestly feel the affix system is really good. I honestly feel Mythic Plus is one of the best things that was added to World of Warcraft for a very long time. I feel it's one of those, like, for the haters of World of Warcraft and stuff like that. It's keep the game alive kind of mechanic. Because once
just remove necrotic.
Just leave it. Just fine. Tanks need to do something as well.
Tanks do way more than anything.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, tanks do, yes. But either way, I feel like Mythic Plus has been a really strong feature. Raids are gonna get old. Mythic Plus, for some reason, is not getting old. Affixes are one of the reasons why they're not getting old.
It's not because of that. It's because you want to push higher keys.
It's
progression. It's literally non-ending progression.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. I like one of the big reasons why I'm still playing the game. I'm still enjoying the game really strongly. Mythic Plus. Mythic Plus is really, really cool. One of the best features that's invented in the game, in my personal opinion. one of the best features, and I feel that Blizzard should really capitalize on this interest in Mythic Plus. They should have more Mythic Dungeon Invitations like they're already doing. They should add more Mythic Plus affixes. They should have some kind of a more incentive to do Mythic Plus, maybe Mythic Plus tiers, maybe something else to keep players to focus on pushing Mythic Plus, because I think it's really cool, man. It's really cool, and they always had this. Diablo had this stuff for a very long time, and they only did this now, and I feel it's a really cool feature. But I think this was way over the limit that I was expecting to do. I was expecting to do like a half an hour one. I think this is way longer than half an hour. But yeah, for the new people who are tuning in and things like that, who are watching it, this has been like a kind of like a talk show kind of thing. I know there's been a few issues, maybe hopefully the sound and everything is working perfectly fine, but I'm going to upload this on YouTube. So for the people who are watching this on YouTube, welcome to the YouTubes. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this as a series. Let me know like your opinion about this, the comments that you leave, whether you enjoyed it or whether you didn't. Like, you don't have to agree with everything we say. We don't have to, like, I don't agree with everything this pleb says, like, absolutely not. But if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed this kind of talk show thing, I might make it a series. I might make it a bit more polished, make graphics and all of that stuff a bit better, and it's all based on your opinions. It's all based on how you felt about this video, whether you're going to watch it, whether you enjoyed it, whether you like it, the comments that you leave. So, and also for the people who made it to the end of the video, if this does become a series, okay, that was great English grammar 101. If this does, Hugo has agreed with everything we said. That's good. If this does become a series, what should I call this? What should this be called? I have no idea, dude. Pleb talk. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? I don't know if I can say that. Can I say pleb? I don't know, dude. I said it already. Oh my god, I said it already. Either way, I highly appreciate the comments that you're gonna put in and stuff. Let me know about this. Let me know how you feel about this. Thank you, Mr. Paperkut, for coming in and telling us your insights into the ever-growing World of Warcraft streaming communities, Mythic Plus communities, your views on Affliction Warlocks, your stupid views about affixes and stuff like that.
They're so kind. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. So thank you, guys. Thank you for watching this. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know the name that you want this to be, if this is going to become a series. And I'll see you next time, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Are you going to wave? Oh, you don't have a webcam? Oh, no. Next time, Paperkut webcam. Vote for the webcam. Vote for it. See you later, guys.
There you go, dude.
What?
Plebcraft.
Plebcraft. Yes. Plebcraft. It's happening. It's happening, guys. Okay, see you later, guys.
Yeah, dude.